Welcome back in, everybody, to a Wednesday edition of Birds 365 here on JAKIB Sports. Joined now by Brandon Lee Gowton of Bleeding Green Nation. BLG, great to see you, man. Thanks for joining us today. How you doing on this Wednesday morning?
Doing good, guys. How you doing?
Doing well, BLG. So, even though I don't want to talk about it, I got to get your thought process on it. The decision making of Nick Sirianni. I don't want to put words in your mouth with my thought process on it, other than, boy, I'm surprised how many people have an issue with these decisions. Other than the 4th and 1 play call, 4th and inches play call, when they went away from the tush push, I think it all made sense. Am I being too easy on the decision making?
I think a lot of it made sense, and more sense than people would want to admit. I do think that you can go through those and parse some things. And I guess my issue with some of that conversation, or that, like, the ultimate criticism, would be more about the guiding principle, the overall kind of bigger picture philosophy. I still feel like there's kind of a haphazard and inconsistent element with that with Nick Sirianni. In case in point, like, if the driving motto is to be aggressive, then I think you might have to go for it at the 4th and 4 at the end of the game there to really kind of just like take control and not just kick a 57-yard field goal, which is hardly a gimme, and only still be up one possession at that point. I also think that you could have. I want to see the numbers on it, but I'm generally a really big fan of going for 2 from the 1-yard line, especially when you have a pretty unstoppable play.
Used to be unstoppable.
Mostly unstoppable. Used to be unstoppable. But I think if it's a situation like it was on the first one where you can go up 3 possessions, like, I think I have to reconsider that in that situation, because I'm like, well, what's really the difference between being up 17 or 18? And there's a big difference between being up 16 and 17. So I think there's a lot of nuance with all of that.
Yeah, and that's Zander's case. And like second quarter, I don't give a shit. Basically, I'm going to take advantage of the extra yard. I think that's their philosophy. Doesn't matter, situation, score. If they give you a free yard, they're going to go for it with the tush push, which I kind of understand. Fourth quarter, a little bit different. I've often said the irony of this part, the irony to me, BLG, is this is an organizational philosophy to be sort of uber aggressive, dating back to the Super Bowl. One of the main reasons this team has its one Super Bowl is because they were ahead of the curve by being aggressive. To me, it's ironic that some of the haphazard stuff, and you're right, it's not consistent with Nick Sirianni. He's kind of the firewall. Like, if we're up to the organization, they'd be more aggressive, I think. And Nick occasionally goes, you know what? I'm not feeling it right now. And like for me, with the Jake Elliott field goal, because Jake hasn't been himself this year. I mean, typically last year, guy was lights out. I would have punted. I would have punted there and said, let this shitty offense go the full distance. Rather than 4th and 4, because if you don't get that, you're giving them tremendous field goal position. Either way, they gave him tremendous field goal position with the missed field goal as well. But I would have played it personally a little bit more conservative there. But their organizational mindset, I think, is even more aggressive than Nick Sirianni's. You agree with that or disagree?
Yeah, and I've criticized Nick Sirianni at times for not being aggressive enough. Famously, in the Super Bowl on the 4th and 3 where they punt, and Kadarius Toney has that return. So yeah, I mean, I agree with that. I would say, again, part of it is like, obviously you can't just be like, hey, it didn't work out, so it's a bad decision. It's results based thinking. I mean, that's part of the process, and you have to evaluate, okay, did they run a good play on these 4th downs? And I think that's part of my issue with the one where it's the turnover on downs there where they totally, and it's 4th and inches too, right? It's like a close one, not a far one. And I know you got stopped on the brotherly shove 2 times before, but again, to speak to a bigger point here, I think I've seen and heard Nick Sirianni kind of like cite anecdotal evidence a little too much, and you really shouldn't lose faith in that play just because you kind of got stopped, and maybe really even didn't get stopped on one of those 2-point conversions where it looked like Hurts might have actually even been over the goal line. But even if you did, it's inches. Come on, like you can get even if that play's not working for you, you're able to get
I'm
inches.
with you,
Like
100%. Now, that because this didn't even cross my mind, but a lot of people brought it up again. Like it doesn't even cross my mind. 4th and inches, kick the field goal there. Like that to me, I'm like, I'm not even considering that on 4th and inches. But the problem is they didn't push it. That I have a problem with.
Yeah. Well, I think I would say I don't like the field goal there generally, but if your operating presumption there is like we don't trust the tush push anymore, then I think maybe you should kick the field goal if you truly have gone away from that, which I don't think they should have, like I said. But if that's the case, then I'm more okay with that. If you're going to take the 2-possession lead there, go for that. Then run some other play when you could just run your unstoppable play or take a 2-possession lead. I chose the middle path, and I just don't like that from those.
BLJ, let's talk about the football now. I think the team has really started to put together some good-looking football, a lot better than, the first 4 weeks of the year when I was kind of like, what's going on? They're 2-2, but it's an ugly 2-2. Your takeaways we can start with the offense, what they've been able to do in the last couple of games and specifically what they did on Sunday. I thought they looked really good, and I think Jalen Hurts is back to playing, high-caliber football.
I mean, what we were harping on earlier in the year is that you can't turn the ball over. Yep. And especially, I mean, not that's a given for like most quarterbacks in the NFL, but especially him, especially on a team where he has help and support around him. He doesn't have to be the guy carrying the offense by himself. Really just like don't mess it up. And obviously he's done more than just that. But at the baseline, you have to just not drag the team down, especially when you're playing inferior opponents who, like, you just can't give those extra opportunities to and keep them around in the game. They're hoping you beat yourselves. That's the best way they can win the game. And obviously, Jalen Hurts has cleaned that up. He just looks a lot more comfortable. He's been really efficient. His numbers over the past few weeks here they're really good. He has 12 touchdowns and 0 turnovers. Like that's winning football. So I think, part of it's him making good decisions, playing well, good throws. Part of it is just, the offense helping him. He's looking comfortable in that. Part of it is he doesn't really have to do a ton in terms of the Eagles being the most run heavy team in the NFL. Helps when you kind of drop those the pass attempts there, and he's able to be more efficient in a smaller volume passing attack. So really everything has kind of just come together and clicked for him.
Any concern, but obviously the numbers you just cited them have been tremendous during this 4-game winning streak for Jalen Hurts. But, some of the things you just talked about, the results-based thought process. And Nick admits, he understands he's going to be judged on results. Everybody's judged on results. But, boy, that 4th and 3 play was there, PLG. I mean, that should have been a touchdown. If the ball's out on time. The 4th and 1, I don't even know what they were doing. Yeah. I can't. I don't criticize them as much, the 4th and inches play, because I find it very hard to believe the progression involved EJ Jenkins, but EJ Jenkins was right in front of him, wide open. These are, in theory, easy conversions on big, high leverage spots. Any concern that quick processing, take what's there in those types of situations is still a bit of a problem?
Yeah, I think typically, obviously the turnover issues aside, which have seemed to have gone away, like when Jalen Hurts struggles, I think more often than not, it's just been about it's not about those killer turnovers over the course of his career. It's more about the plays that he's leaving on the field that are there to be made. And the AJ one, yeah, I remember watching that play from the press box live and being, oh, he has AJ, and that's a touchdown if he hits them. If he leads them, or probably maybe gets to the 1, whatever. It's certainly a first down at the very least. And he had him with AJ with a step, and it's it's AJ. It's not some other guy in the progression. This is the guy Jalen Hurts loves throwing the ball to, and I feel like I've seen Jalen have good touch on those kind of plays too. So weird to me that ball would come up so short and come out so late in that situation there. And that's a big deal because you have a chance to take a 3-possession lead at that point in the game. yeah, I mean, those are the plays that kind of make you worry. Obviously, every quarterback is probably leaving on some fields on the play to some extent. So, I don't want to harp on those too much as if it's not happening elsewhere. But those are the ones I think that do kind of give you pause that, like, okay, as you're playing tougher teams, you're not going to have that same level of margin for error where you can't just, be doing that all game and then get away with that and win in the end.
BLG, the defense right now is third in the league in just basic stat numbers. Uh, Pretty impressive stuff from them. Is this something you think they can keep up? Now, I am aware they haven't played the greatest offenses in the world, but I do think you're seeing a lot of good things, certain players stepping up that, you didn't expect. I mean, I don't know if you remember back in the offseason when we talked, this linebacker core was thought there might be a bottom 5 in the league. They're certainly not playing like that. I'm optimistic on the defense. Am I too optimistic that they can be a top 10 defense for the remainder of the year?
Well, this tougher stretch is coming up, so they're really going to be tested. But I give them credit certainly for doing what they should have against lesser competition. And look, they shut down Joe Burrow. He's pretty good. Trevor Lawrence isn't amazing, but for the Eagles to hold the Jags to what, like 31 or whatever, 32 yards it was in that first half. Like I don't care who you're playing against. Like that's dominant.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. Yeah.
And
I think it was 36 yards, 9
Okay.
minutes, 9 minutes left in the third quarter
And
until
like
they went on that drive.
Yeah, like 18 plays or something.
Yeah.
Like it's crazy. And ultimately, 4 touchdowns over the past 4 games. Like it's pretty good. You'll sign up for that one.
Yeah. Let's talk about those linebackers because I think there's been so much over the decision making. I mean, for the second consecutive week, Zach Bond and Nakobe Dean have been lights out. PFF had them both over 90 again. That never happens. Certainly in Philadelphia for linebacker play. Every week, I always say Vic Fangio says something that just, makes me smile because the guy's so entertaining. But yesterday it was about Zach Bond, and he got sort of asked the question, did you, when you were evaluating him as a player, basically, did you consider that nobody else thought he was an all-ball linebacker? And Vic took sort of a backhanded shot at others, and he said he doesn't worry about that, yada, yada, yada. But, I mean, we're all counting on Devin White. Not me, but other people are counting on Devin White, and all of a sudden, I always talk about nobody can cover at linebacker except Fred Warner. You know who number 2 in the NFL is in coverage as a linebacker? Zach Bond. Unbelievable. Is this sustainable? Is this a mirage?
It's hard to say it's sustainable from the standpoint of, we just don't have the track record to say it is. But, I mean, I think from the tools perspective and the IQ perspective, yeah. I mean, that play where he sinks in the coverage and helps break up a pass early on, I legitimately thought that was a defensive back at point. I was like, oh, who was that? I was like, oh, it's Zach Bond. He's dropping 20 yards downfield. Yeah. And then the next play or a play or two later, he's making a big stop and run defense. For a guy to have that kind of range, I mean, you're talking about Fred Warner, that's crazy kind of stuff that you just don't see really anywhere, let alone in Philadelphia from a linebacker. So, I mean, yeah, Zach Bond has been lights out. Feels like he's leading the team in those stops every week with those tackles that aren't just the meaningless kind of tackle where the running back picks up 8 yards. Yeah, but the ones that limit him to 2 yards or as a tackle for loss. He had a tackle for loss in this game. And obviously Nakobe doing something that really didn't do as much in training camp when we all saw him have success downhill, but able to actually drop into coverage and make that interception. So, I mean, that's obviously huge.
Yeah, but real quick, here's the exact quote from Vic. There are a lot of people that want to know what the majority are thinking and kind of take the easy way out, but I've never been that guy. So take the backhanded shots at everybody else. He's like, because I mean, you can go back to the owners' meetings and Howie was talking about him like he was Andrew Van Ginkel and he's going to be an edge player and sort of a hybrid, but more of an edge player. And Vic got a look at him and said, nope, he's an off-ball linebacker. And that was his history, for those who don't know, before he was the defensive coordinator, he coached linebackers. So that's sort of his expertise. He's coached a lot of good ones.
Mm-hmm.
I'm amazed. I think of any other player, I'm amazed by Zach Bond more than any other player on this team. I did not see that coming at all.
No one did.
At all.
Yeah, there's no way anyone out there was like, you know what? I'm actually a huge Zach Bond fan,
Yeah.
and I don't think he looked bad in training camp, to be clear, or
No.
anything. But I mean, it was a very bizarre sequence
But
from.
That first preseason game in Baltimore, he looked bad. You remember that?
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, this isn't gonna work.
Yeah, I mean, when we signed him, I remember it was like a nothing burger. It was one of those things. Oh, it looks like they picked up a practice squad guy. John, what's he rated overall in PFF? Because I know the last 2 weeks he's been like the top
Let me.
where is he overall for
Got to
the
be
year
like
right now?
top 10 or something.
Gotta be. I mean, he looks like it to me.
Yeah.
The eye test would say he's top 10.
Yeah, he's got to be top 10 because he's had some great games. But I'll pull it up real quick. But N'Kobe's playing now. N'Kobe was playing poorly early in the season, so he's not.
He's at 10th.
The last
exactly.
2 games. Zach is 6th overall.
Okay.
6th overall, behind Fred Warner, Landon Roberts of Pittsburgh, who doesn't play that much. But the guys who play, Fred Warner, Bobby Wagner's too. Bobby Wagner's unbelievable. He keeps playing at a high level. Another Washington. Adam Peters is phenomenal, by the way. The kid from Jacksonville, who's a great linebacker. You just got to see him. Oloakin. And then Zach. So really, of the guys who play a lot, he's 4th, 6th overall. And he's 2nd in coverage to Fred Warner. 2nd. Unbelievable.
That's insane.
Unbelievable. And N'Kobe's high point in the football, getting people on wheel routes. And then Cooper DeJean as well. Cooper DeJean, to the point, I'm a big fan. People can probably realize that, but I will say, what the hell took so long with Cooper DeJean? I mean, Avonte Maddox was not playing well. I don't care about 20 days in training camp.
Yeah.
Get him out there. That is one nitpick I'll have with Vic. Cooper DeJean has been unbelievable.
He's been incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, I feel bad for Avonte. He plays 1 snap against the Jags, and then that 1 snap he has the pass. It's like, it's almost like you can't have him out there on the field.
BLG, the trade deadline came and went yesterday. Eagles didn't make a move. A couple other NFC teams that I think are going to be there late in the year did make a move in the Commanders and the Lions. What did you make of the trade deadline yesterday? What did you make of the Eagles not making a move there?
Yeah, I was on board with Eagles not making a move unless it was, like kind of a big fish kind of acquisition, like Max Crosby. If you paid a premium price for someone that would help you this year, but also could be part of your future, I mean, yeah, absolutely. But anything short of that, I just think probably wasn't worth it.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you.
Unless it was like for depth, whatever, you're giving up a future 7th, who cares? But like, I would not be shopping where the Eagles were the past couple of years, kind of there in that middle range where it seems like they got a great value at the time. And it turns out that player was available at that price for that reason. So I think they did a good job. I mean, if you could have gotten Zadarius Smith, obviously, I think that would have been a really good move. But, the Lions did instead. So really, I don't think there was a lot else out there for them. I will say, I think it's frustrating from the Eagles' perspective that, the Commanders get Marshawn Lattimore.
That is a good player, BLG. I was just about to ask you. I mean, that's a big deal for Washington. That really is.
100%.
And it makes them a lot better. And they're real. They're not going anywhere. And that game after Dallas, Thursday night short week here on Lincoln Financial Field. So that's an advantage for the Eagles. That's going to be those 2 games, the home and home series, that's going to decide the NFC East. And I don't think Washington's going anywhere. Adam Peters is, hey, he looks like he put one over on Howie when it came to Jahan Dotson. And now he's getting a player like that at the trade deadline. Is it time to admit that the Commanders are for real?
I mean, yeah, I think they have been. Now they have faced the second easiest strength of schedule in the NFL. So, they have had some lighter opponents here. They played Baltimore pretty tough when they played the Ravens. So, not going to say it's all just because they're playing lesser teams, and certainly the Eagles have been playing some lesser teams here recently. But just like I said with the Eagles, it will be interesting to see how the Commanders look against some of these better teams. I think it'll be good, but I don't know if they'll just keep winning every single game. Lattimore is still pretty good to me. He's allowing just a 69.1 pass rating this season, and that's after allowing just 74.7 last year, 67.3 the year before. So he hasn't made like one of his 4 Pro Bowls in a while, but I still think he's been playing pretty well there. And yeah, I mean, the Commanders make this trade in part because they had an extra 3rd round pick, and it wasn't the 3rd round pick that the Commanders ultimately gave from the Eagles to the Saints. But honestly, that's even better because it's the one that's the higher of the Dolphins or the Eagles, and it's actually it could be a really early 3rd round pick. If the Dolphins keep losing there and the Commanders are able to hold on to that. So it's not a great situation for the Eagles in terms of their top threat in the division is getting better at a big position of weakness for them, and not only just this year, but they're going to have to deal with Lattimore presumably for a couple more seasons here. He's under contract through 2026. So if you're an Eagles fan, like I don't think that's not a trade you love to see.
Yeah. No doubt. BLG, it's Cowboys week, and it doesn't really feel like it yet. At least it's only Wednesday, but I mean that Cowboys team is just not the same Cowboys team they've been in recent years. How you viewing this game right now? I don't want to go to sleep on the game because it's still an NFC East opponent, but boy, it doesn't look good for the Dallas Cowboys right now.
No, not at all. Defense is allowing the 2nd most points per game in the NFL. So Mike Zimmer's unit's been pretty, rough there. We've seen him specifically struggle against the run, like when we saw them go up against Derrick Henry. Obviously, the Saints had success running against them early in the season. That was the Saints' last win, by the way. So I think this Eagles offense should be able to get after this defense. And then when it comes to the Cowboys offense, I mean, they're missing Dak, but Dak wasn't playing well. He's actually playing probably the worst football of his career. And
Cooper Rush.
Well, we'll see, right? Is it going to definitely be him? Is it going to be Trey Lance? We'll see.
That's true. Yeah.
But either way, I mean, not the most inspiring group there.
No. Any chance, it's funny to say this because Cowboys have been, 12. They win, obviously they're not that team anymore. And now Washington, we just talked about, has the big turnaround. It's funny to say this because the Eagles haven't won at AT&T Stadium in so long, but any trap game vibes for you? They're thinking about Washington more than they're thinking about it. How crazy is that, by the way? Yeah. Thinking about Washington more than you're thinking about Dallas.
I think it wouldn't count from a standpoint of like you just almost kind of had sort of a trap in the Jags a little bit. And then also like it's a division game. If you're overlooking a divisional opponent, like what are you doing? I know, the injury kind of changes things there, but I mean to me it's just like they haven't won there since 2017, and the Cowboys have beat up on them a number of times in recent years. Time to get back at them and really, assert yourself and even though they're not officially dead, like stick a fork in the Cowboys. Like if you're a serious team, go down there and take care of business and turn the page to Washington, and then get your starters out early. Ideally, like beat them so badly you can pull your starters in the 4th quarter, and then you have that little extra lead up going into the Thursday game.
Speaking of starters, and the Eagles have done it. They didn't do a good job of that in 2022, but they've been doing a good job of that now to get them out. The touches, Saquon.
Mm-hmm.
And the leap, the Jimmy Snuka leap, the backward leap, he got banged up on that play.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Is that sustainable, or they have to start paying more attention to this? They claim they do it during the week. Is that sustainable? I mean, Derrick Henry's Derrick Henry. Spends $750,000 a year on his body. He's a monster. Saquon's a monster in his own way, but Derrick Henry's more equipped to handle punishment than I think anybody else.
I think he's averaged, John, over his career like 330 touches a year. Like he's used to this type of workload.
Any concern at all on that aspect of it for you?
Yeah, and I think this is why, it's disappointing when the Eagles aren't able to really like put the Jags away in that game, because if they do, then Saquon doesn't have to have whatever many touches he finished with there, and they're able to get more Kenny Gainwell and probably even Will Shipley into the game there. So I think that's kind of the way they have to manage it is they have to beat up on these teams more, because like you can't just be like, well, you have to bring his touches down and at the expense of you're losing the game. Like ultimately, you need to
Well,
win the
not if
game.
you're losing, but do you think there's something to, maybe giving Kenny or Will Shipley
Mhm.
a series and that, once every 4 series,
Mhm.
and be disciplined.
Sure.
Um, just to lower it a little bit. And I mean, everybody does it. That's
Mhm.
generally the thought process around the NFL. Everybody's got the lead back, and you got the complimentary guy who comes in every few series. Boy, I think that would be at least somewhat of a way to
Mhm.
extend it because, boy, I don't know, but he is, Saquon is put together himself.
Yeah.
I see that. I look at Christian McCaffrey last year and I said, everybody talks about what a year, what a year, what a year.
Mhm.
Then he comes back and he's out for half the season.
Yep.
Um, there's a cumulative effect. Um, I think the Eagles need to be more disciplined.
Yeah.
Or am I just should I buy a dog, as Howard Eskin would say? Am I too scared?
No, I think that's absolutely right. I just think it's like easier said than done. I think right. I think that's the part that's challenging. But I think you're saying you have to almost go into it with the plan of like we're gonna have a drive here for Kenny or whatever. Like it's harder to just be like, oh, we'll figure it out in the course of the game, because I think it's a very simple like, wow, this player is awesome and we need him to win. And then
Yeah.
you're not going to want to take that guy off the field if
Yeah.
you're not going into it with the plan of. So yeah, I do think they should go into it, with a better plan of trying to scale this down. But again, you can only do it so much.
Fair
BLG,
enough.
yeah. BLG, thanks for joining the show, man. Great stuff as always. Appreciate you doing it on a weekly basis. Looking forward to talking to you again next week. Hopefully, we got another win to talk about. Then we'll see you then. All right, BLG.
BleedingGreenNation.com. Make sure you read PLG there at Brandon Gowton on X. Every morning go to Bleeding Green Nation, get your latest picks on the Philadelphia Eagles.
Thanks, BLG.
Thanks, guys.
Good stuff there from BLG. Look, I love talking to BLG.